Hello, this is Kirsteen's Aesthetic Art and Travel, and I'm going to draw an owl and talk about marker pens. I have these marker pens that my daughter got me for my birthday. As you can see, they have a fine end and a brush end. I think she paid £30 for this whole set, so they don't have to be incredibly expensive, but you could also buy them one or two at a time, which works out more expensive than deals like that, but you know, you don't have to find it all at once, obviously. Now, the thing about pen is you're never going to be able to rub out any lines that you create, obviously. So the trick is to start very pale and work darker, because you're going to have to leave behind all your pale lines. So I like to make construction lines in something like very pale pink, very pale yellow, even very pale grey. So I'm going to do an owl, and the owl is going to have a head, so very pale lines to tell me where the head is. It's going to have a body. As I've often said before, the backbone of good drawing is good observation. So you can get yourself an owl to draw, or failing that, you can get yourself a photograph of an owl. The obvious photographs to have are your own photographs, because then you absolutely own the rights and you're not stealing from anyone. I'm working with a combination of imagination and my own photograph that I took, so I own it. I take my phone camera everywhere and I photograph everything and store it on the ether and the internet, you know, the cloud storage space, and I use them as artistic reference. So they're all searchable, so I just searched owl among my own photos, and boom, I have an owl to which I completely own the rights. Failing having spent a lifetime collecting 60,000 digital photographs, you can go to morguefile.com, and that's one where people give away art photographs for artistic reference and other uses without rights. Or you can buy the rights to use something. You can ask a friend, you can write to an artist and say, I really liked your photograph and I want to turn it into a drawing or a sculpture. Can I have permission? It's for my own use, or I'm only going to sell it here in these circumstances. There's lots of ways to get things to observe, but obviously one thing you mustn't do is just go ahead and steal it. There's also such a thing as fan art, which is when you knowingly do something like, you know, a Star Wars figure because you're a fan of Star Wars, and there's a lot of websites and things where you can upload that and nobody's going to sue you for having a go at it, but you got to make sure, because if you sell thousands of Star Wars t-shirts, I'm sure someone would be after you for their share. So you got to make sure that if you're doing fan art, you know it's just fan art and you're never going to use the thing for something else. The other thing about marker pens is with colors like paints or even pastels, you can mix them and you can blend them. Marker pens, pick a color, you're stuck with it. That's not going to change, except you can overlap them a little. So here's the thin line, it has a totally different feel. You can overlap them a little, but you can't really blend them. So try not to be too freaked out about it not being quite the actual color of the thing. Just kind of pick one that's close to what you're looking for and go, yeah, that's that brown. Honest it is. For some reason, this owl has one foot in the air in my picture. I'm not sure I quite like it, so I may change it. That's the whole point of doing a piece of art like this. I mean, I consider the photograph art as well. People have debated that for hundreds of years, but I think it's finally come down on the side that photography is definitely art. Well, you know, for the 150 years or so that photography's existed, I mean. But drawing, I mean, is the beauty of it is you can change it. Of course, you can change a photograph in Photoshop, but I haven't done that. I've just got them in my camera roll the way they come. So I'm looking at my owl photo more than I'm looking at my paper. So observation, good drawing is look at your reference, look at your reference, look at your paper, look at your reference, look at your reference material, look at your paper. You see, it's more on the reference material side than it is on the paper side. And the beauty of drawing, of course, is you do that, you continuously notice things. I didn't notice it had stripes on its wings in this direction and stripes on its wings in this direction ever in my life before, until I came to draw it. I didn't notice at the time when I took the photo, I didn't notice looking at other pictures of owls, but now I'm observing it well enough to draw it. I notice things about it that I have never ever seen before. That is what is one of the many things actually, but that is so utterly delightful about drawing, is that you experience. I've got to just kind of fudge this face with some fluff on it here because I realize I put the beak too far forward and I cannot erase a marker. So we're going to come along with a darker color. So mistakes can't be gotten rid of. They can only be darkered over, if you see what I mean. You don't have an option to rub out the beak in the wrong place and put it in the right place. But you do have an option to go, here's my beak. Boom. In this nice dark color. That's just some feathers, honestly. That's not a beak in the wrong place, guys. And obviously that's a good reason why you don't want to show people unfinished art too often, because they'll be going, what is that? And you'll be apologizing for it. I avoid showing people unfinished art, and I avoid explaining mistakes or justifying any artistic license I took. So, because you're watching the YouTube tutorial, you're getting privileges that I don't normally give. I normally go, look at this. This is just how I intended it. Of course, it had some fluffy feathers around its face. You get the idea. So, this owl has light shining from above, and so even though its chest is completely white, in terms of the feathers are literally white in color, looking at it, they're most definitely not reflecting white light into the eye. They are grey and brown. Another important thing, you look at the subject, look at the subject, look at the paper, but when you look at the paper, stand back from yourself sometimes. Realize the overall effect you're creating. Maybe turn it another way up. Look at it in the mirror. Hold it away from you and stand back so that you don't get so involved with what you're drawing that you forget what your overall look is or what you're communicating. You know, you can get fiddling into, oh, I've got all this dark under the chin and there's more dark under this white edge to this wing. Its chest isn't white, and you're thinking about that detail. It's like writing a word so carefully that you lose the spelling halfway through. I don't know if anybody's ever done that or if it's just me. I know I'm not famous for my spelling. But that idea of getting too close to the fiddly bits of something and you will miss the overall, which is what people will be communicated. You know, when they look at it, they'll be like, oh, that's the overall. They're not going to think with the detail. This thing has cuffs on its legs because it's in a sanctuary. I think it was injured or something. But again, artistic license. If you don't want your owl cuffed, if you want someone to imagine that I photographed it in the wild, or so, then you just skip the cuffs. Right, let's have a look. There's some more lovely warmer brown in here. Let's go for, again, you can't color match with markers because you can't really blend them, but you can have a go. And another good thing that you can do is you can have another piece of paper or an edge of the paper in my case. Are you willing to test stuff on? Decide if it feels, see, that feels too dark now that I see it. It still feels a bit overpowering. I want a brown that's just gonna not overpower everything here. Yeah, that one's very orangey, but I quite like it. It's not so dark. Nope, no, it's too overpowering. Green, this one's called green. Let's see what that's like. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, just a little more yellowy than the one I've got. Very close. Maybe that is the one I was using. We don't know. All right, but going over it, if it is the same one, going over it twice is nonetheless giving me darker bits. So I do have the ability to put more dense marker in, and it's going over the grey there. Do you see that? And the combination is giving me, so it's, I can't blend exact colors, but I can mix markers. And this thing has quite a lot of brown on the bit under there, orangey brown, and quite a lot under there, bit on his head, more grey under here, but I'm going to go over it like this because I like the way the combination makes it. And now I definitely want something quite a lot darker to get this eye in. And oh, I've got some pale grey as well. Don't forget the greys. Ooh, that's nice. Yeah. Warmer grey. No, I like this one. All right, I'm going to use the fine end here a little bit and see if I can get this feeling that it's got almost like a beardy looking thing. And its beak is pink. Definitely pink. Not grey or brown. And it's funny, it's got sort of pink in the eye as well. Comes down to the beak. Yeah, I like the thick line better. Just gonna get rid of that. What a beautiful owl. Just gorgeous. Love wildlife. A good tip for the actual photographing with animals is if you get your camera right up to cages and enclosures where they're, you know, keeping rescued things, you can often get the fence completely blurred away so that you can't actually see that it's in any kind of enclosure in your photograph. It makes it look more free and wild and happy. I would also say, don't give your money to anyone you're in doubt about. You know, if they're rescuing birds from disasters and re-releasing them into the wild as soon as they can, it's a whole lot different from collecting them for falconry displays and keeping them forever, even though they're fit to go in the wild or breeding them for it. Try and decide, you know, your best vote is your wallet. Try and make smart decisions about the places you give your money. This I am not claiming to be perfect about. And of course, people disagree. Some people think there should be no such thing as animals in captivity at all. Others think education outweighs the potential upset. So yeah, not claiming to answer that debate, just have a little point that I try at least to have some morals about who I give my money to. Isn't it amazing how they come to life the minute you do the eye? That 1 minute it's a bit dull, and then you put that eye in and poof, it's alive. I said I can't rub out, but you can actually lighten things up with a bit of strong white. If you feel that something's really gone wrong and you want to cut in and give it a better line, have a look at different types of chalk, and you get chalk markers. I've got one here. Everything pieces while I get it. And I've also got a white gel pen here. So here are chalk markers. Yeah, it says chalk marker on it. Chalk pens, and this is a white jelly roll. It's made in Japan. All of these probably go over a dark color and gives you an ability to work back into it in white. And as you can see, it's not erasing it completely. You can use Tipp-Ex as well, totally you know, liquid paper stuff. But this will give you a sort of second chance at your line if you don't like where it's ended up and you can't erase it. You can at least change it a bit. And as you can see, it's working some nice texture into the solid areas as well. You see how that's giving it so much more cutesy detail. Hold this up to the camera. So the little white lines creating much more subtlety. That's the word I'm looking for. But I'm actually not quite ready for that yet because I was still messing about with the black here. Again, step back and remember your overall impression. What are you doing from a distance? How does it look from back here? Do you even want to outline things in black, or, you know, just leave it? What are your darkest areas? If you're looking for your darkest areas and you're struggling to find them, you can partially squint your eyes like you're squinting in the sun. And that often helps you see which areas of a thing are darker and which are not so strong. Sorry about the humming. I always get happy when I draw and then I hum away to myself. And there's a question of whether you're filling in shade or you're filling an outline. So in painting, you're putting blocks of color in, not outlining things. In drawing, you're usually, although you might build out with line and shade, you're usually more outlining things. Markers kind of gives you the choice, or you can combine it. In my case, it's kind of like an outlined object, but it's also kind of like blocks of color. So one of the liberating things about markers is you don't have to pick a team. Not a painting or a drawing. It's a bit of both. All right, so a bit of white just to break up these blockhead areas. I'm almost done with this. I like it. Knowing when to stop is something that artists agonize over. Things tend to go through an awkward stage and then a good one. Occasionally they don't ever reach a good stage. Don't agonize over that. My dad always had a good piece of advice. He'd say, get it right in the next one. And I like that. It puts your whole future as an artist there. Just because one picture went wrong doesn't mean you're done with this game. I've heard it applied about tennis as well. You know, you're never going to win the next point if you're busy thinking about what you did wrong in the last one. After the game, sure, watch it on video. Figure out how to be better. But yeah, it's all about the progression from one drawing to another. Progression from your one ability to another ability level. You don't beat yourself up over your current ability level, just look to how to improve it. Am I done, or I'm going to put a bit more really dark in, I think. A little bit more. Just a final bit higher contrast in a few areas, because we don't want it to be too bland. What a lovely owl. And now I think I'm done. Yeah, I like that. All right, so I hope you learned something about markers. As ever, you can like and subscribe, and you can ask me questions by email or in the comments. And I hope this encourages you to create art. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.